Hello, everyone.
Hello.
This is Alex,
And Ryan.
and we are here to dissect another episode, arguably one of the most heartbreaking episodes of Survivor Winners at War, episode 117, because I have no idea anymore.
Yeah, let's squeeze whatever life this episode. I was trying to make a joke and it failed. The joke was going to be, let's squeeze whatever life we can out of this episode because Survivor has already squeezed all the life out of me this season. But the joke failed, so let's just act like it didn't.
Look, you know what? We're not gonna like restart the filming, but we're just gonna pretend like that didn't happen. We're gonna.
It worked. The joke blend.
You are just a scholar and a wit, I swear. Oh, so happy, so proud, so funny. Moving on, this episode was so many moments of just no.
It was a lot of cringe.
There was so much cringe in this episode, but we're going to get into it. I almost feel like, just for the notes that I made, because I rewatched the episode so that I'd be able to speak a little bit more directly about the things that happened in this episode. Sadly, this episode we said goodbye to Kim, and the entire episode, I'm like, I feel like it's Kim's ticket to be punched, and yeah, a lot of the things that I'm going to be saying while we're talking about this episode is basically like people dropping hints that it's their time to rise and it's their time to take control of the game. It's their time to show, like, I'm not in Tony's pocket. And then we lose Kim anyway. And I'm like, okay. So overall, what were your thoughts, Ryan, about the episode?
I mean, kind of already covered it. I'm just sort of getting to the point where I've resigned myself to not cheer for anybody except for Tony, because every time I do cheer for somebody, they go home. So I'm now cheering for Tony because Tony's going to win the season, and that way I'm not disappointed when he does, because he will, and I'm not excited about it. So
I gotta be honest, I'm 120% in the same camp as you. I feel as though, God bless it, because God knows I'm trying to get on the show and I shouldn't say too many disparaging or constructive things about the way the show is run. Holy Christmas, if the people in charge of like storyboarding or like coming up with the actual narrative of the story, if they did not go on vacation halfway through the season or halfway through editing the season, I don't know what they did. Because I'm just sitting here like, we've got the majority of the cast, we don't know, other than maybe one person, we don't know anyone's intention for who they want to see go to the end, or who they want to go to the end with. We don't even know. And I feel like unless the answer is like there's 7 people left in the game, unless everybody except Tony wants to go to the end with Tony, I don't understand the edit that we're getting. Because I know people have to be aware Tony has momentum. Tony's doing all the things. Tony is a threat. We don't know who Michelle wants to go to the end with. There was a discussion where it was like, hey, Kim, Denise, Michelle, let's go to the end together, or let's do like a Final Four with Nick. There's always those conversations, and it's just like, yeah, totally in. And there's just never any fruition to that. So
you're absolutely right. And I feel like we now know why Adam had such a big edit for the first half of the season, and it was so like the editors could be like, haha, surprise, it wasn't the Tony show, but now it is, and Tony's winning. Like, it's literally what it is, and it's a pile of poop. I'm not gonna lie.
I seriously think that 18 contestants must have really pissed off someone in charge of like storyboarding or whatnot, because if you weren't Adam in the first half of the game or Tony in the second half of the game, there was like an 80% chance that your edit was this person's non-existent or we don't care.
Yeah, pretty much.
We get back from tribal council. Sophie's gone, which the wounds still haven't even healed for me.
No.
Mostly, again, because of that edit, where we didn't even realize Sophie was truly in trouble until like
what edit?
eliminated. So
edit. So yeah, so they get back to camp, and the weirdest thing is Jeremy seems to blame Ben over anybody. He doesn't really seem to be blaming anybody except for Ben for what happened at camp. And this whole episode, we get a lot of Jeremy is so annoyed by Ben. And Ben is doing that thing again where Ben is doing the stuff that Adam accused of doing, but we didn't see in the edit. And now he's doing it on the edit. Like he's he's being like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't have to talk to you. It's like, why are you doing this on Survivor? You're on an all-winner season and you're refusing to socially entertain the thought of working with somebody.
I wholeheartedly agree. There's to me, there's two parts of that. One, I've never considered Ben to be one of like the strategic masterminds of the Survivor winners. So there's one aspect where I want to go, yes, but maybe. But then fast forwarding to something that happens in Tribal Council, a normally level-headed, very diplomatic, very cool, calm, and collected individual literally turns to Jeremy and is just like, no, I am done talking. I'm going to vote, like, and shuts it down. I'm like, Jeremy must be doing something very, very unique that we are, as an audience, are not being shown. For two previous winners to just go, what you are trying to do right now, I am not going to have any part of it. Goodbye. Something is going on that we are not seeing. And this is why I'm like, there needs to be a companion show. There needs to be something that gives us more of this information. Because I refuse to think that two oxygen-breathing previous winners are just going to shoot someone down right before voting.
Especially someone with the social prowess of Denise, because like I can understand Ben. Like Ben got himself into a spot in his first season where he was like socially outcast from everybody and didn't have the social chops to get back in. But a player like Denise, who has worked from the inside, the outside, the upside down to win, it was very surprising to me.
Yeah, so it's fascinating to me that we see two winners kind of give Ben or Jeremy the I'm good. Whatever
Right.
doing, have fun with that with someone else. I'm not buying it. So,
but for every moment that Ben is so standoffish and refusing to work with people, I do appreciate, and not about the player, but about the dichotomy of it. We have Ben who's blatantly refusing to ever work with somebody, and then we have Nick who only knows how to say the word yes. He has not done anything of his own accord that I can see all season. And now he's literally, anytime someone comes to him with a plan, it's, yep, I'm going to do that. Yep, I'm going to do that. Yep, I'm going to do that. And it's not just him like lying. It's like actually whatever the plan is told to him at the last minute, the most recent thing in his brain, that's what he ends up doing. I don't understand.
honest to God, I would not be shocked if they just haven't shown it. I would not be shocked at all if literally Nick is in every one of his confessionals going, oh, I'm going to the final three with Sarah and Tony. And Sarah and Tony have pissed off enough people because every single round it's like, I'm going to start playing my own game. Vote out. Who went before Sophie? I can't even remember.
Tyson?
Sure. And it's like, this is the side that I'm on. He gets left out of that one conversation. He's on the outside of that, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he still votes to get rid of Tyson. And had he just voted with Tyson, Denise, Kim, and Michelle, it would have been fine. So part of me wants to think that, like, I'm trying to be nicer to the winners that I'm not rooting for. And I'm just like, as much as I'll defend Denise, as much as I'll defend Sophie, as much as I'll defend these ones, because we don't know everything that goes on, I have to realize maybe I don't know everything going on with the winners I'm not crazy about. That being said, Nick keeps talking all these grandiose lines about, like, I'm going to do this thing, or I'm going to play my own game, or I'm not in Tony's pocket. And week after week, he votes with Tony. And I'm like, are you planning on taking credit for these things that you've had absolutely nothing to do to get the ball rolling for? Because if so, you are a lawyer, and that would be an interesting strategy. That being said, I don't understand why he's there, other than he's just a goat to take to the end and win against.
Yeah, I don't see any other reason yet either, and we're certainly not being included if there is one.
I was going to say, I feel like I've completely thrown off the order that we would normally talk about this. We get back. Sarah's...
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're going to talk about what I was going to say.
Oh, what were you about to say? Sorry.
Sarah flips her shit on Tony. I like how we had a moment where it was like, no, she's like, I'm talking to myself, and I'm like, just keep your cool. And then she's like, you fucking ruined my game. And I gotta, I'm not gonna say that it's the best move ever, but props to your mama, because I feel like it needed to be done, because Tony is so haphazard, and the things that he does, obviously it's for clout in the game. And by the end of the episode, I'm just left wondering how anybody can like live with their own survivor conscience at this point that's in the game still, knowing that they're putting this person on a pedestal to win the game. Like it's not a competitive season when you're letting this person get away with this many moves and winning this many challenges in a row. So I'm proud of Sarah for putting Tony in his place and being like, no, you fucked me and it's not okay and we're not going to let it happen. And I feel like if Sarah were not pushed into a corner the way that she was this episode, things would have gone differently. But, you know, we'll get there eventually. But I don't want to pinpoint this bad move that came on Sarah because I don't think it was a bad move for her, because if it wasn't Kim, it was probably going to end up being Sarah in her mind, especially, and I get that. So
I think I agree with that, but I also feel like it right now, and it could just be, again, we don't know how people are perceived or how people are playing the game. We don't see everything that goes on. We don't see all of that. I just think if I'm working with someone and they're my final two, or I have a final three deal with them or anything like that, and they make a move to get rid of my other ally purely because they don't want me to have that person as an option, immediately, I'm not going to immediately turn around and vote them out, but I'm immediately starting my plan where I'm like, ooh, final four, final five, goodbye.
yep.
Because if I go to the end with you, you're just going to be able to say, I took out this person's next closest ally just to ensure that I kept control of things. And no one wants to go to the end with someone that can dangle that over them while they're trying to plead their case to win. So for Sarah to get upset, I'm like, yes, that makes all the sense in the world. For Sarah to continue to work with Tony this week, I'm like, I mean, girl, it's like, Molly, you in danger, girl. So I don't know. I found it very interesting.
The only thing I can imagine is if she, and it's very clear she's working with Ben, if she's attempting to maybe label Ben and Tony as goats. And, you know, if anybody left in the game can portray the label of a goat onto somebody else, even if it may not be deserved, like someone who has the resume of Tony right now, I think it could be like a Sarah or Sarah or a Denise have that possibility. And again, not the biggest fan of her, but I actually think Michelle could undercut that too. The way that she speaks at Final Tribals is somewhat impressive to me. So I think that, you know, I think she could do it. So, but right now I don't see any of the guys really being able to go, oh yeah, I did this because they were my goat. I don't see them getting away with that. Whereas the women have in some ways been a little bit pigeonholed in their moves. The guys don't seem to have been that way, especially for this last vote. But speaking of Tony, it's very interesting because he's back up to his old tricks, climbing up trees to do his spy nest now. I'm over it. And then telling everybody about his idol. I don't understand why he's telling Ben about his idol. Sarah knows about his idol. He's all, the idol is for you. The idol is yours. The idol is yours. And then, again, we're going to jump all over this the whole time, and that's fine. I don't mind. But at Tribal Council, he flat out reveals that he has an idol. And I don't think this is the first time everyone has heard that Tony has an idol. I have a feeling the only reason he was so forward, like, Sarah, do you feel okay, is because everybody on that fucking tribe knew that he had the idol because he blabbed his mouth too much.
There's that. I find it fascinating purely because, again, it just must be not necessarily the fear that, hey, Tony's going to start being perceived as rolling everything between blindsiding Sophie, asking Sarah for an idol, telling Jeremy not to play his thing. It's like Tony is saying things in front of the jury and they're getting done.
Yep.
I'm just like, under what planet, or on what planet does someone look at that and say, yes, I want to take this to the end? And again, we don't know specifically that Ben or Sarah really intend to go all the way to the final three with Tony. But even after the Sophie vote, if the edit shows things in chronological order, which, let's be honest, they don't always, like, Sarah's like, if Tony keeps up with this, he's going to get himself voted out. And it's not even her saying, like, I'm going to vote for Tony, or I'm going to, if he keeps doing these things, I'm going to get rid of him. It's literally, this is going to happen to him. And even though he's not in my top 3 or even 4 that I'd like to see win it, I got to give props to Tony.
Yeah, I mean, if he ends up winning, he certainly in the back half of the game played the way he needed to play to win.
Yeah.
So I guess before. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I know that I keep getting on all these tangents, so I'm just like, keep it rolling, Alex. Go ahead.
I was gonna jump over to Edge of Extinction before we get any further. Okay. So we have an interesting ordeal at the Edge of Extinction. Another big challenge. Only the 6 fastest people will get tokens. I'm personally cheering for Natalie and Sophie and Yule. Um, Gloriously enough, they're the first 3 people to finish the challenge, so I'm really excited. Um, we see Rob kind of fall, and I almost had a worried moment where I thought Rob was going to have to get medevac because he was like very seriously talking about this injury from when he fell, and thankfully he doesn't have to get medevac. You know, I don't wish that on anybody, but very
Okay.
excited. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to pause for 10 seconds and say, did I mishear when I rewatched the episode Rob saying like, oh, this challenge is like perfect for someone like me, or like I'm better adapted for this kind of challenge? Was anyone else just kind of like,
He was like, I'm more physically fit than all the guys out here, and I'm like, I don't know if you've seen Yule in his underwear, but like I've seen Yule in his underwear.
Boston Rob probably exactly. Boston Rob probably was not paying attention to Yule in his underwear the way that you and I have been paying attention to Yule in his underwear. That being said, I have questions, and Tyson does like marathons and shit, and I'm just like, bless your heart, Boston Rob, bless your heart.
Hopefully, it was like undetected sarcasm, but who knows?
As
Uh, but yeah, Queen Sophie kept up with my CrossFit Queen Natalie, which was super impressive. Yul, Parvati, and Tyson, all chucking in there. Really proud of Parvati. I mean, very recently after giving birth to kick ass like that is really cool.
did,
Um,
did we talk about it last week, or it might not have been you? I said it to someone said something about Parvati, I think on Twitter or something. She was like, why isn't Parvati like it was either a comment either about her weight or a comment about like, why isn't she like crushing challenges like she used to? And Parvati just wrote back, I had a baby.
question mark.
Like,
That
thanks,
might do it.
right?
And then Wendell is the 6th person to finish. I thought it was a fun little showdown between Wendell and Danny, and then I got really worried that Danny was going to hurt herself because she fell towards the end. But I gotta say, Danny Boatwright looked like a goddamn horse running down the beach, and not in a bad way. Like she looked like a thoroughbred, like just trucking. I thought she was gonna pull out that fire token,
I
but
actually
she
wrote
did.
down, I looked at Danny Boatwright and just like the definition of her stomach and how her, like where her hips are, it's like here and then bam. I'm like, they are not feeding people on Edge of Extinction. I'm convinced people in the game are getting fed more than the people on Edge of Extinction.
I
Like,
wouldn't doubt it.
call Sandra Diaz trying to quit her all you want. She looked at that situation and was like, no, I'm out.
I, I get to eat 4 grains of rice a day. No thanks. Um,
This is
my
clear.
my did you miss it moment of the episode? Amber, I'm pretty sure didn't even try. Just didn't even get up off the log.
I didn't even, yeah, I didn't notice that. Uh,
I never saw her moving, and then she just pops in at the end when Rob comes back after going above and beyond to finish.
Amber's like, I have had 300 calories in the last 3 weeks. I am good.
She's
Y'all,
like, I am only here for conjugal visits. That's the only reason I haven't raised that flag
the
yet.
only reason why they brought me on this season is because they wanted me to feed advantages to Rob, which clearly didn't pan out. I thought it was great. It was probably the first and only time this entire season I did not mind an Adam Klein confessional, because I was like, he's owning it. And like, he's not making excuses for it.
At least he's finally self-aware. I'm still hoping. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I know it's terrible, but I'm gonna say it. Tyson with that comment about Adam quitting Edge of Extinction. I'm waiting to see if it happens. Just
Oh,
because I think it would be such a gut punch. Like I don't think people are ready for it, and I like when an edit actually sets up some foreshadowing, unlike what's been happening this whole season. So that would be nice.
I almost wonder if that was almost just like a way to be like, hey guys, maybe be nice, or hey fans of the show, maybe be nice to Adam when this is all over. I don't think with 7 people now left in the game, I have a hard time picturing anyone quitting that close.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could easily be wrong.
It would be funny and ironic though if he quits after being like, these people are so upset about rain, and then he quits on Extinction.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The irony would not have been wasted on me. That being said, no, I'm very. It was an interesting challenge, and I definitely love who is going to make it. And he almost like as like I can only imagine being Danny and getting that close and just barely being beat out. And
Right.
I doubly feel terrible because Danny was the third one out, and the edit of the show has pretty much eclipsed her presence. So I think that was her first confessional we've had of hers on Edge of Extinction for probably 6 or 7 episodes. When's the last time we saw anything of Danny?
I don't know, but it was kind of crummy that we didn't get anything from her on the family visit. I thought that sucked.
It wasn't until I was saying that just now that I remembered, like, we talked about, like, Adam and his dad, because it was his brother the last time. We got to see Yule's gloriously beautiful wife and baby. We got to see everybody. And I literally, while saying that, I was like, who visited Danny? Did we?
And she has kids.
Did we talk about that? Like, she got children. So
She don't had them.
she already had her children. Anyway, we get back into the main game, and I think this has already happened. Maybe it hasn't. Kim starts the ball rolling on. She's like, "Hey, I was outside of the numbers last time. If I'm going out soon, I'm going out because I played hard." And she starts throwing Tony's name out. And in my brain, I'm just like, thank God someone's coming to play the game that doesn't ultimately hand it to Tony. But I'm also the person on my couch screaming, not before the immunity challenge. What are you doing? Kim, you're smarter than this.
And Homegirl got everybody in on it except for Sarah and Tony, which we know in a game of, 8 people left at this point?
Out of 7 possible people to have this conversation with, she chose 5 or 4 out of 7. I'm sorry. Yeah. She talked to Sarah and Tony, and I'm just like, oh, one of them's gonna run back to Tony.
Yeah, so it's very, very dangerous, obviously, especially with how the votes have, not that the votes have necessarily flip-flopped, but there's been different clusters going in different directions, so it's hard to perceive who's where. Yeah, definitely dangerous to do that before the challenge, but I give her props for trying to take her fate into her own hands. They end up forming an alliance, or so it seems, between Denise, Nick, Michelle, and Kim, which I think is really smart for at least 3 of them. I think Denise, Nick, and Michelle are all people that at this point don't have enough of a resume to win the game, so going to the end together gives them all at least a better shot of winning. We'll talk about why that doesn't pan out later on, because I'm still confused about it. And I mean, they're all still in the game, so who knows? But we go off on an idol hunt then shortly after this alliance seems to form. And I'm already like, I swear to God, if Tony finds another idol, I'm throwing everything I own at my television. I'm really hoping Denise finds it, but it ends up being Ben that finds the idol. And Ben is like almost the new Adam. Like, he finds the idol right in front of Tony and then tries to hide it like he didn't find it in front of Tony.
Oh my gosh, I think I wrote it. Ben finding the idol with Tony and then trying to hide that he tried to hide it. I was like,
oh, I was just like it's not like you weren't just eating an ice cream sundae and like dropped some on your shirt and like, oh, like you have an idol in your hand and you were looking for it with Tony.
That was one of those moments where I feel like he probably could have played it off like, I'm like, if Tony had been like, Ben, I can see you. I'm like, yeah, but we don't know who's behind us. We could be being followed right now. I feel like that would have been the easiest thing, especially the person that found 3 back-to-back idols in his original season. That should have been the easiest thing on the planet for him. Right. And you know, I'm not coming down on him for it, because God, I'm the world's worst liar. So I
would have even just been like, oh, I'm so used to hiding them as soon as I find them. My bad. Like,
I'm hiding them. It's like, it's not because of you. It's because if someone's either ahead of us or behind us, I don't want anyone to see that I have it.
Right. So
that's all he had to do. So the fact that he tried to do the backtracking and all that, I was like, this is why I am mystified that you won your season.
Well, and remind me to come back to this moment later on in the episode based on the decisions that Ben makes, because the fact that Tony knows he has an idol, but he tried to hide it from Tony, and Tony doesn't trust Ben, and Ben doesn't trust Tony, and then they work together, it blows my mind.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to move on to the challenge, but if you wanted to touch on that. Okay. So
I'm worried about forgetting to say this later, so I guess I'll just say it now. This is where I don't have a problem with the Tony win, purely because Ben is like, we need to get rid of Jeremy. I don't want to work with Jeremy. I don't like him being in the game. Sophie goes home. Next round, we need to get rid of Jeremy. That is all I want in this life right now. That's it. Tony says, that's great. However, this is what's better for my game. So let's go ahead and do this. And Ben's just like, fine. And does it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, to me, that's the kind of thing I'm going to give someone $2 million for, just because I'm like, who's the one that said, let's do A, and then someone said, no, let's do B? If A happens, I'm sorry, that's one more reason to give that person or person A the win. So
You're not wrong.
Ben keeps saying like Jeremy needs to go, Jeremy needs to go. I'm like, unless you're finding the numbers to get out the person and you're not just having someone say, no, let's do this instead. To me, I'm like, you're not building your resume. You're just showing people why you just went along. And if he's anywhere near the end with Tony and he doesn't take Tony out, he's an idiot.
Right. Well, we move on to the challenge, and for some ungodly reason, I don't understand why, it is a double immunity challenge at the top. I know, but it's just kind of, it's a little bullshit at the moment. And I want to point this out because Chaos Cass, who we love and worship, pointed out on social media that during the challenge, everyone's arm was completely straight and no bend, but Tony's was here comfortably.
Well, the other thing that I've noticed is I find it interesting that challenges that are predominantly won by women in previous seasons of challenges, those are the seasons where it's not the top two finishers of the challenge, but it's one man and one woman.
Right.
I'm the fan sitting here going, okay, Jeff Probst.
A challenge that has nothing to do with gender, by the way. That's what I don't understand.
I was going to say, I think it's just whatever the muscles that are isolated in that, apparently it's just something that women are just natural. Like back in that challenge when you had to like hang by your feet on some poles or whatever above some water, it was always the men that dropped like flies in that challenge. And I'm willing to bet cash if they do any challenge like that this season or in a future season, that's going to be the challenge. They're like, yeah, one man, one woman, because women.
Your boobs really help you hold your arm up.
Oh, what?
Your boobs really just help you hold your arm up.
All I have to say to that is Teresa Cooper in Africa, Parvati in Micronesia, what was it, Sheehan in All Stars. But even all those examples and all three of them, who was it up against at the end? One woman and one man.
Right. I do have to say I was kind of glad to see this challenge again because this challenge from All Stars is one of my favorite moments in Survivor history. I am a Sheehan stan for life. I loved this challenge. I love her. She's so good. So we start out obviously knowing one man, one woman's gonna win. I just want anybody but Tony. I'll even settle for Nick. I don't care. And I want Denise or Kim, especially knowing that the edit seems to be foreshadowing Kim could be in danger. I would really like to see Kim win. And as we go on, I'm just over and over, please fall Tony, go Denise and Kim. We get to this point where Jeff offers a temptation. And this has to be like one of the most cringe-worthy moments for super fans ever. Because you don't drop for peanut butter 4 days before the end of the game, which is basically what they're at this point. They're 4 days away from the end of the game. And it's something like that. I'm being facetious, but like it's less than a week easy.
Okay.
And not only do we see one person drop, we see 3 people drop for peanut butter. And I don't accept I was going to drop anyway. I don't accept it because how often on freaking Survivor do we hear Jeff Probst, Jeremy with a big save, Nick with a big save, oh, I almost fell and he recovered. Like, you don't know who else is close to falling, you doofus. So why do you give up because you almost fell? I don't get, like, you know what I would rather gamble $1 million on than peanut butter almost falling. That's what I'd rather gamble $1 million on. I was sorry.
I'm dying because your Jeff Probst impression, I was like, if Jeff Probst and Goofy had a baby, that is and every time I talk to you, I'm gonna be like, I need you to say this as Jeff Probst, as his Goofy offspring.
Only wins immunity. So
that's the greatest.
I could not believe that. Above all, okay, Michelle drops, Nick drops. I don't want to say I get it because I don't, because I still think it's silly. Plus, you're winning tokens if you win the challenge, and we know that those are important at some point. But Kim dropping voluntarily is mind-blowing to me, and I'm not going to deride her the way that everybody else on social media seems to be, because I get it, and she admitted even at Tribal that it was a bad decision. She shouldn't have done it, and obviously she pays for it.
Exactly.
But to see Tony be handed the win this way when that was her goal, like I couldn't even believe that this happened. Like Nick literally was like, "Okay, well here you go, have immunity."
Gagged. This is why I'm like it's one thing, like if I'm seriously like dying after minute 5 and we make it to 15 and I haven't eaten in 2 weeks, I get it. To a certain extent, I get it. Especially having never played Survivor before. I can imagine. What I didn't understand, let's say before I get on another soapbox and talk for too damn long, what I didn't understand was Jeff Probst was like, here's cookies and milk, and this is available. You can eat it until the end of the challenge. Kim drops, Michelle drops, Nick drops, challenge over. And I'm like, so do they get to eat it? Or
they get like a finger full of peanut butter? Like
Kim, she's got like the tray in front of her and she sees Nick come off. I'm just like, did she just like face plant? Because that's all I would have done.
She starts pulling like a
peanut butter out of my hair for a week now. I'm set.
She pulls like a Jen and Heidi, just starts like putting peanut butter everywhere.
I'm taking that plate and just say it, Jeff. Say anything. I'm not giving you this plate back till it's clean. Bye. And that was my almost did you notice moment for the week. My actual did you notice moment was Michelle has more armpit hair than Tony.
I did notice that actually.
Dang it.
I really did.
I didn't notice it till I rewatched the episode today. I did not notice it because right when she comes out, it's not even when it's like her arm is stuck in the air. It's like afterwards. She does something. And I'm like, I mean, they're on Survivor. They're not shaving. That makes sense. But then I went back and I was like, Denise is completely clean. And then I realized, I was like, Tony is like naked. It's like, does the man just not grow armpit hair or does he just shave it? I was so confused, but I was thoroughly tickled by that.
The world may never know.
But yeah, I thought it was very interesting. I almost wonder if they just made it look like it all happened really quick together. Because yeah, I was like, Nick's like, I'm gonna take it too. And I was like, Nick, by you taking it, and again, I'm not gonna call the man dumb, but I'm like, by you taking it, that ends the challenge.
Right.
So it's like, how are you even gonna get this? If you take it and like they have to stop eating as soon as the challenge ends, and you take it and the challenge ends, how do you even get to eat?
It's not even handing someone immunity. It's you just gave someone their 3rd immunity win in a row, right? What do people look at when they pick a winner of this game? Physical, social, and mental. So you just ticked the box for one person way more than anybody else in this season.
Yeah.
He has now easily won more challenges than anybody else. Clearly, because he feels safe with immunity, he's pulling off strategic moves. And socially, everybody seems to want to take him to the end. So I don't know what you're thinking. I would rather fight for that immunity and lose it and go home knowing I did my best to prevent somebody from pulling that off than resign myself to go, well, if that guy makes the final 3, nobody can beat him. So, and I did that. And for peanut butter.
Yeah, and I think to potentially to Nick's credit, I'm trying to think of how I can phrase this without sounding too harsh, but I'm just like, I think if I'm, you look lovely by the way. I think if I'm Nick and I'm in the final 8, I'm just kind of like, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to win if I stay on. And hey, if I don't get immunity, no one's going to waste their vote on me. So yeah, I'm set. And he got a fire token out of it, as opposed to not being able and also not getting a fire token. So there's some logic there, but I'm also just like, you're giving Tony that much more momentum. And it's also just like, if everyone knows that he has an immunity idol, it's like, you guys are never gonna get this guy out.
If anything, and I'm not going to put too much stock into challenges, because I think we've gotten to a point after 40 seasons where people aren't like, well, you won the most challenges, so you should win the game. I understand that.
People say
but
that.
If anything, it's at least a resume builder to be like, I stopped the guy who had the momentum of immunity. I beat him in a challenge. or I tried. I didn't give up, and I was there to fight, and I could have just taken the easy route because I knew I wasn't going home. But I
Right.
stayed on that perch, and I fought my ass off, and I tried to take the guy out because that's at least something. You tried something to take the game into your hands.
Like,
You know
yeah,
what in your hands? A peanut butter fucking cookie for 12 seconds. Congratulations.
that's the one where it's like, yeah, dude, I don't know. That's one of those ones where it's like I so heartily don't want to judge anyone for making that kind of decision because I've never been in that position.
I
Ever.
got a fire token that I gave him last round. Yay.
This is why I'm just like the players who to me were not playing with a full deck the season that they won are proving why I was not a fan of them to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, and
Period.
I promise I'm not in Michelle's camp. But
They're turning on us right now as we speak. I can sense it.
she's had moments this season, and I do want to point this out because in this episode, and a lot of it traces back to her relationship with Jeremy. In fact, I think that's the only time she's really been impressive for most of this season, other than maybe her pregame alliance over on the swapped Selly tribe, but that's not a moment this season. It was just they hung out before the season. Nick, Wendell, and Michelle agreed to have an alliance. Clearly, it happened. Let's not pretend that it didn't. But so we move on to camp. Jeremy is set up as the easy vote, and I knew, because they don't say it on the edit, but I knew Michelle was not going to just be okay with this Jeremy vote happening.
Yeah.
So she does what I'm going to give my drop your buff moment to this episode, because I think this is the smartest thing that you can do with her 50-50 token that she got. And she offers this to Jeremy if he feels like he's not safe.
Yeah.
She tells him it's him. And she says, this is the only thing that I can offer you. I have to vote for you. I can't not put your name down because the votes are coming your way. But you can play this. You can be safe. We can get the numbers back.
Yeah.
She's like, I know it's all I have. I don't have an idol or anything. Why I think this is so brilliant and why I want to give attention to it is because if you play the 50-50 coin and it goes in your favor and you end up getting to the final tribal council, some people in Survivor understand that luck is part of the game. But a lot of people will not respect the fact that you put your fate in the hands of a coin flip. It's not respectable, right? Some people will take away from that. We know that they will, especially in a cast of all winners. You need to put the game in your hands as much as possible. But if you can give this coin to somebody else and they can stay in the game and you end up making final tribal with them or not, but if it works, then you can get to the end of the game and you can specifically say, that was my move and nobody pinpointed it on me. Nobody knew that it came from me, and nobody predicted that it was going to come from me. And I'm the reason why they survived. Or if they went home, then it's still a move where, well, I didn't want it to be played on. I didn't want to put it in my own fate into a coin flip and risk myself going home. So instead, I found someone that was very valuable for me, and I let them take that chance on themselves while still positioning myself into a majority. And I think that's way more powerful than a lot of people are going to give it credit. So I want to point that out because I do think moves like that, subtleties like that, are reasons why Michelle is definitely, for me, a notch above Ben and Nick in this game.
I wholeheartedly agree with that, and I appreciate you bringing that up because I had not quite considered those points. That being said, I think if you wanted to try and have that kind of momentum with that kind of move, I feel like Michelle needs to figure out a way to get into a plan where the person she votes for or the plan that she's a part of, the intended target goes home. For that to really mean anything. Because it's like, right now I definitely got I was willing to give up an advantage that I had earned for myself. I was willing to play that for someone. So I wasn't out there just saying yes to everyone like Nick. Or like, just giving false hope to people. Like I legitimately had people that I wanted to work with and ride with to the end. And I was willing to take something that I had earned and spent all my fire tokens for to try and spare someone that I was working with and that I wanted to see stay in the game. Totally get that. But I still feel like, for me, just watching, I'm like, that's great that you did that. But also it's just like, where the hell was the rest of your social game?
No, that's fair. I mean, right now, without it being final tribal council and her possibly pulling that move out and explaining it in a certain way, like the way that I am for her, right now it's definitely more of survivalist play than it is strategist play. But again, it's weird. I think Michelle has it in her to turn around and go, wait, like I can turn this into a powerful move for my resume.
If anyone has the wherewithal to kind of figure out like how do I spin this to make it sound amazing, definitely Michelle.
Because that's how she got her win the first time, so it would be exciting at this point to watch that, especially as someone who both of us have kind of been like, I don't think she's got it. But if she ends up doing that, then yeah, Natalie White at Final Tribal, was able to be perceived in a way of like, well, I didn't need to make the flashy moves because it got me here to the end. And this is why, I've seen people win on Survivor from explaining their game in those ways at the very end. So if Michelle can do it, that'd be cool.
I think the difference is between the two games, because I appreciate that point and I don't disagree. The difference is that I don't think anyone can really get to the end and just be like hated on by the people still in the game. Because with Russell, it was just like, you were just kind of a dick. I think
Right.
the closest that we have, I think in an all-winner season, if it weren't an all-winner season, people could look at Tony and be like, you were kind of a jerk. But that's what he did in his first season, and he won anyway.
Right.
So I think that's something I'm not convinced yet that I would be satisfied with the Michelle win. I'm still not. I would take, if the final three were Michelle, Ben, and Nick, I was just going to say, I'd be better with the Michelle win, but that's it.
Do you think if Michelle, Ben, and Nick go to the end together, that we literally get a Samoa Final Tribal Council again, where Nick is Mick, and Ben is Russell, and Michelle is Natalie? That's what I feel like we would be looking at, because Ben is pissed off so many people.
I think that's exactly how it would go down. I got to be honest. I've not hated Ben nearly as much this season. But oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't even know.
I'd watch the finale. Like literally, if it was like Final Four fire making challenge, it's Nick, Ben, Michelle, and say Tony, for just to pick a name. And Tony loses the fire challenge, and that's the final three. I don't think I could watch.
Well, there's no way that Tony loses the fire making challenge, because in his fire making kit there will be a flamethrower or something. Like, here you go, buddy. We poured 8 gallons of kerosene on your fire, so have fun.
It's literally just going to be like, oh, we're going to put like a magic mystery item right in front of you. And like, what was it? Ben's would be like a thing of toilet paper. And then like, Tony.
Ben's is water. It's just like a 5-gallon bucket of water.
And then Jeff Probst would defend it at the finale going like, well, if Mercury is in retrograde, you can actually take a plastic container and turn it into, if you were raised by like the native people of the Fijian Islands, you could have like pointed your hand north, like connected your toe to the water bottle, and then been struck by lightning and caused a fire. So it was totally fair.
All Jeff would say is, well, we created this back in Ben's season to regular win for him. So if anybody should be able to win a fire making challenge, it's Ben. That's what they would say.
What's really funny is that's when I would have gone, touche, Jeff Probst, touche.
Right. We had to make it come full circle and rig it against Ben, and I'd be like, I'm not mad at it.
Chrissy would sit at home and just go, yep.
Also leading up to the vote, in his litany of moves that he's not making, we find out that Nick is possibly the worst liar we've ever seen on Survivor. He's just so transparent and so bad at lying to Tony.
This is like he played such a great game this season. I'm like, no, Davey played an amazing game this season. The guy, I think Carl was the name of the other one in his alliance. Carl was playing an amazing game this season. The only reason Nick made it to the end is because he aligned himself with people who were stronger than him and were much smarter than him and better at the game. So yeah, I said I was going to be nice today. I hate myself.
It's just crazy to me because, I mean, Tony catches Nick lying, and then Nick is like, oh yeah, it was, maybe it was Kim, which, like, how many times this season are we going to see somebody, like, stumbling and stuff like that? I get it, you're fatigued, you're tired, whatever. I have never been there, I can't really critique you on it, but, like, at least have the capacity where if someone is like, who threw my name out there? Or did someone throw my name out there? If you're not prepared to throw a name out in response, vehemently deny and be like, Ben is lying to you. Nobody threw your name out.
That's totally it. And that's just it. I think I am totally the person where it's like, if there was a conversation that happened between you, Denise, and Kim, please stop trying to act like I was there. You start lying.
Yes.
And I think the only reason why I have it so much out for Nick right now is I literally wrote these down. Nick, now's the time to try and play my own game by voting out Kim. Okay. This is why I have to make big moves. What big moves have you made or are you attempting to make? And I can't blame Nick on the edit that he's getting, but I'm just like, where are the attempts to try and shake things up? We haven't seen them. Then my favorite, Jeremy, Sarah, and Ben are people I can't beat in the end. Votes out Kim.
Right.
This is why I'm like, I can't be mad at a Tony win if it happens. I can be mad at the edit that makes it glaringly obvious that this is who they want us to root for. Because that's what I don't like in an edit, is when it's just like, oh, this player's great. Oh, this player's great. Oh, this player's great. Oh, this player wins. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was exciting, but it wasn't.
Thanks. I didn't need to watch the last 7 episodes.
Literally, exactly. It's like, well, he's got momentum. I guess he wins the game. And the number of times that's actually what happens, I'm like, all right. I think from a storytelling standpoint, they don't want the winner to be a surprise. But at the same token, it's like,
But if everybody was edited fairly, it wouldn't be a surprise, or it would be a surprise. You know what I mean? If everybody got the screen time they needed, we would be surprised.
It would be like I think right now, I just don't like it when it's like, oh, hey, this player needs to win. This player's going to win. And if Tony gets 4th place, there's going to be an outcry.
Right.
And I got to be honest, just from like the people saying, these are the people I need to get rid of. These are the people that are threats to me winning. And yet for whatever reason, what Tony says happens. I'm like, I don't personally want a Tony win out of everyone that's left. I don't think he's even in my top 3, but he would have earned the living hell out of that win if that's what happens.
Right.
Not
So we get.
Go ahead.
I was just going to move us on to tribal council. So we get to the tribal council, and right away they kind of start talking. Jeff kind of pulls the rug out from under him. Oh, we had 3 people drop out of the challenge, and the jury is not happy, and I don't blame them, because if I was sitting there, I would be like, all 3 of you don't get my vote if you survive. Like, that's just, it's like, you have to think about this from the perspective of the jury. Obviously, the jury is going to find out that you dropped out of a challenge, obviously, and all of those people still want to be in the game. So you basically just said, like, oh, like, you would love to stand on a perch and hang there for hours and hours trying to win immunity to get into the top 7, but I wanted a cookie, so... That's like, it's like shitting on them, and I don't think they're going to be happy with Michelle or Nick going forward.
What do you think about Sarah's thing or her bit where she's like, yeah, they want to be where we are, like, still fighting to be able to stay in the game, and we're all like emotionally just done.
I found it to be one of her weaker moments of the season. And it was really surprising for me because we don't typically see Sarah stumble like that in ways that the jury might not respect, I think.
Oh, I didn't take it that way. But
I just kind of, I understood what she was saying, but I don't think it's like a sympathy on her to be like, they so desperately want to be where we're at and we're just mentally over it. Like, I would be like, I'm so grateful to be here and I'm going to fight my ass off every day. I don't care. Like, it's all about perception, right? And if the jury goes back to their villa and they're like, Sarah doesn't seem like she can mentally handle it, like, I don't know. And you get to the end and Tony's like, well, Sarah broke down every day and screamed at me and was done and blah, 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 and I had to drag her ass to the end.
That's the edit that seems to be happening. So we have an interesting dynamic. I'm slowly reaching the point because people have been like, I hate that they all whisper at tribal council. I hate this. I personally, I think prior to this episode, maybe last episode is when it started, it just got to a point where I was like, we as an audience I don't think we get anything out of it. I think when it first started happening, I think in Game Changers was when it first started being like commonplace. I think it was kind of like, oh my gosh, something might change, something might happen, this might, da, da, da. And I think that was kind of what made it more interesting. But I think going into like the last 4 or 5 tribal councils, I don't think it's a live tribal council in the sense that if everyone had voted within 60 seconds of getting to tribal council versus at the end of all the whispering, I don't think we'd see much of a difference. So for me, I'm almost just like, is it really necessary?
I don't fully agree with you because I feel like the round where Tyson went home, that whispering and why don't the 5 of us just go over here and make a decision, I think that needed to happen.
That I wholeheartedly agree with you on, but that's still incorporated, like you just said, that why don't the 5 of us go and make a decision?
Right,
that's
fair.
just, hey, let's stand up and just do the whisper game. I would love to just do like a poll where it's like, how many times did your vote change post whispering? And maybe
Yeah.
I'd like to think, like, especially in the Tyson episode, which again, we had that moment of let's go and decide. Nick and Michelle both flipped and voted out Tyson.
Right. I would like to think that it has had some kind of impact, and I don't mind the whispering because it's as inconclusive as the edit has been, right? We've had to draw in the blanks about who's got a final two with who's a pair with who's been aligned with who almost all season. It's been subtext in the edit. We've had to draw our own conclusions. You can see, yes, Ben and Sarah have been working close together. Sarah and Tony have been working close together. Jeremy and Michelle have had an alliance from the beginning that they don't talk about. Nick and Michelle have been aligned from the beginning. Denise and Kim have been aligned. They don't talk about any of these things, but we know that all of them are happening.
Well,
so
you almost just wonder, like, if you as a player, we see you saying like, oh yeah, we have an alliance on day 6, and then you make another alliance on day 12, and then a third alliance on day 18. It's like, well, which one is he loyal to? Or is he just like, I just want to keep the people I've made an alliance with? I'm sure a lot of people, Denise included, were very close to Jeremy at one point, but she voted for him or was in on the plan to try and get rid of him, not only this week, but last week.
Right.
Like, what changed? Last time we saw Denise and Jeremy strategize together was with Kim before the merge happened, and it seemed like everything was great.
Yep.
So these are the things where I'm just like, I don't need the little moments like the spy nest and things like that. I'm sure Tony fans were dying and loving it. Me personally, I'm like, I actually didn't mind. I thought it was funny, but still, even though I thought the moment was funny, I'd still would rather know which alliances are still valid, which alliances died, why did they die. Companion show. Continue.
Right. Well, I want to give Kim some props because she kind of feels like something's wrong at this tribal, and she does stand up. She starts the whispering. She starts the kind of like, let's fix this. And I think that's awesome because clearly she was in trouble and it ended up being that way. And who knows if the votes did flip on her or if a majority flipped onto her during tribal or not. We don't know. But I didn't mind it. I don't mind it, especially if it's someone trying to save their own ass. And there's a lot of like people being like, I think you're going to screw me. I don't know, this. And then the moment that I was waiting for, Denise just drops my buff. You tell him, Denise, no, I'm done. This is how I'm voting. I don't want to listen to it anymore. And I'm hoping that people took this as a moment of strength because that's what I did. I thought it was enough of this bullshit.
The comments were not kind to Denise.
Well, everyone can suck it because everyone should be kind to Denise.
I'm sorry, because a lot of people are like, I literally went on Facebook because I saw so many posts like blasting Denise for it. Allegedly, I didn't see any of them. I went onto her Twitter page because I barely use Twitter, and I was just like, I wonder if she said anything about some of the outbursts or some of the comments that are being made against her. And one of the ones where it's like, so for those of you that thought I was being mean-spirited or racist, and I was like, hold the ever-loving phone. Who in their self-righteous BS mind thought that Denise, literally turning and just being like, I'm done, did so because Jeremy is black? I was like, I don't have time for the internet anymore. This is stupid. I'm like, I'm over it. I'm done. Whatever. I'm like, I seriously could not wrap my brain around that. I was so done. But yeah, I wrote this whole thing for a couple of groups where I'm just like, everyone freaking out about this. If you're saying there's no excuse for it, I'm like, please tell me about that time you went on Survivor in an all-winter season and kept your cool the entire time after being out there for over 30 days. I will sit and listen all day to your story. Oh, wait, no one's done it? Just checking. So
who knows how long that whispering goes on at these tribals. This could be 45 minutes of whispering antics.
That's the other point that I brought up, is I'm like, they say that tribal council lasts for hours.
Right.
I'm like, I'd be the person after hours of tribal council. I'm like, Jeff, could you stop asking questions? I either want to vote someone out or get voted out right now. So I'm like, you're telling me that it's like, and we don't know how often they do the whole, everyone sit down. Okay, great. Everyone good? Cool. Next question. Oh, they're up again. My drop your buff moment was a tie between Denise doing this one. Because even though Jeremy brought up a decent point, like, you're only safe for one round. But even then, if he had said that to me, that would have been the moment where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and swivel my chair around so you can get my good side while I cuss you out. Exactly. But my second drop your buff moment Was Jeff Probst starting to try and describe the whole whispering situation like it was a horse race? To me, that was hilarious, but also to me, all I could just picture was like Jeff Probst's inner voice just going, "They're not paying attention to me. It's my show." I just thought it was.
And you're not wrong at all, because that's clearly what he was doing.
As much as I criticize Jeff Probst, he is a professional and he is great at what he does. But it really just made me giggle inside because I just thought that was great.
Honestly, the whole end of this tribal council was one big drop your buff for me, because we get to the vote, everyone has voted, and there is some damn audacity in some of these people. Like, I am shocked. Tony offers to play an idol for Sarah, and I am so bummed that she didn't say yes, because you would be taking away an idol from a player that you don't really trust right now.
Oh my
and you
God.
said no.
I'm sitting here dying. Like, burn the idol. Get rid of it. And I'm sure her justification was, I could be in trouble next round. I might need the idol next round.
But I mean, if you have suspicions that you might be the one to go, the gall, like, yes, like, kudos because you weren't in trouble, but boo because you didn't burn the idol. I get it; it goes both ways, fair. But the gall to not tell someone to play their idol on you when they're offering is so crazy to me. And then Jeremy has this 50-50 and just trusts Tony enough to not play it. Of all the people to trust about me not getting 5 votes, I'm not going to pick Jeremy, or I'm not going to pick Tony. I'm going to think he's lying to me.
Well, no, and if anything, I think that the moment that Sarah missed was Tony is immune this round. Next round, when Tony's vulnerable potentially for the first time in 4 rounds, if he doesn't win immunity, is he going to be as apt or as like willing to give up his idol? And the answer is, I doubt it. But
I highly doubt it.
I'm just sitting here going, that's very interesting that she didn't do that. And then Jeremy, with the flip a coin, whoa, if you were Michelle and you were like, hey, here's this advantage, you should be getting votes tonight, take this. One, what would you think with what actually happened where Jeremy just doesn't play it? Would you be happy he stayed, or would you be like, because I'm assuming if Jeremy had been voted out with that in his possession, he wouldn't have been able to just pass that back to Michelle on his way out.
No.
That's why I'm like, I don't know if Michelle should be happy Jeremy stayed, or kind of like, well, I'm happy you stayed, but at the same time, you took a big gamble with something I gave you.
I'd be like, give me that shit back. Like, if you don't want it,
snatch.
I'll give it to Tony for fire token.
Give it back. I'm like, you know how many fire tokens that thing cost? Rude.
I don't think it's going to necessarily affect their relationship going forward, but I wouldn't be shocked if it did. But just,
go ahead.
No, I mean, Jeremy and Sarah were clearly going to be names floating around. It was shocking to me in a game of people who have not really seemed to pick a side yet, and in a game where people clearly just voted to blindside Sarah's close ally, that she said, no, don't play the idol. And Jeremy, who's been a target for how many rounds, was like, I have this chance and I'm not going to use it. Really shocking. And what's frustrating for me is I feel like we are heading straight towards Advantage Gate 2.
Oh my God.
Where Sari gets voted out of the game. in Winners at War. Sari just walks into tribal and they're like, Sari, you have to leave because everyone has an advantage.
Sari's just like, I'm literally just here to get a check. No, I don't think, I'm trying to remember who has idols at this point? It's Ben, it's Tony.
Just Ben and Tony right now, and then the 50-50.
3 original tribes and then the merge. Shouldn't there be 4 idols in play?
They never found a merge idol.
They didn't. So even with that, there still should be 3, shouldn't there?
Right. So, there's probably going to be 1 idol handed to someone from Edge of Extinction, and then someone's going to finally find the merge idol, and someone else will have 1 immunity.
And it's going to be like, sorry.
There's going to be a double immunity because Tony doesn't have immunity.
I'm sitting here just going like, God, if you could pick someone to be Sari in Winners at War, who would you pick?
Well, I don't want it to be devastating in the way that Sari was, so I'm going to pick Nick.
I'm going to pick Nick. Pick Nick Nick, Nickelodeon. Sorry.
No, you're fine. So we lose Kim, and I mean, I just wrote the word fuck. No, fuck no. I, I
I
think there goes our only hope of losing Tony before the end. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I just don't see where Tony doesn't win the game.
I don't see where Tony does it. The only way Tony goes is Final Four or 5 when someone just says, I'm sorry. Like, it's probably going to take someone coming back from Exile Island or Edge of Extinction. I almost said Redemption Island, then I said Exile. Anyway, it's going to take someone coming back from Edge of Extinction and just being like, there are 17 people on the jury saying they will vote for Tony without question if he goes to the end. I think even in that case, someone still will win immunity, and still it'll be Ben probably just being like, no, I want to go against the best, or blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I have no clue. I'm just sitting here like, I don't see Tony going anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, we've flat out, for as much as the edit has given us with Rob. Oh, you're fine.
No, it's my uncle calling me.
Oh.
Today is my dad and my uncle's birthday. They both turned 70, so.
They're twins?
They're twins.
That's fun.
So yeah, so it was my first time seeing him since I think early last year. So yeah, today was their birthday, so we did lunch. Anyway, continue.
You're fine. We'll wrap up quick. So for as much as Rob seems to be getting a lot of airtime on Edge of Extinction, for Rob to be on the jury side of things and to flat out go, Tony is a boss. Like, Tony is the hitman. Come on. You need, like, you and if I'm a player in the game, I'm going to be looking at the jury when they react to stuff, because that's intel. So if Tony's pulling off moves and the jury's like, that guy needs to go, I hope it happens.
I mean, to me, I'm like, that's a boss-ass thing to do in front of a jury, to say, hey, ally, do you want this idol? And to Sarah's credit, it's a boss move also to go, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody in the game has the prowess to sit next to Tony at the end and be like, no, this guy was off his fucking rocker and I saved him the whole game, Sarah could do it.
She could. I don't know. I think that the internalized sexism against women of Survivor.
Oh, I'm not saying that I think the jury would vote for her over Tony, but I think she could sit at the end and have enough, like, mental capacity to be like, no, it was me using him.
It's like, yeah, no, this is not the Tony and Woo part 2. This is literally, this man is. But again, like I said, everyone in all their confessionals are saying, like, I'm not in Tony's back pocket, votes for Kim. I need to make my own moves. These are the players that I can't go against in the finals and beat, still votes out Kim. That's just when I'm like, I don't have time. Oh, the other thing that I wrote down and forgot to mention, Nick at one point goes, or what was it that he said? And then I'm almost done. Or I tried my best to win that immunity challenge. What? That's just when I'm like, the players that had the best chance of really making the end game more interesting, more exciting, more like jumping around all over the place, went early. Yeah. You were doing gymnastics around some of these people, and the players that stayed were able to pick up on that. Unfortunately, Yule would have been great. Harmony would have been great. I think as much as even our beloved Denise, she's trying. She recognizes, like, these are the power players, but I just can't get the numbers to get them out because the other people that are in the minority with me just can't seem to think, like, hey, maybe it'd be great if I didn't vote out Sophie and Kim, but whatever. So I don't see much of a chance unless something happens with Edge of Extinction. If we don't get a woman back from Edge of Extinction or Yule, I'm just going to be devastated.
Yeah, I just don't. Like I said, I'm going to just say that Tony wins the season so that I'm not disappointed if it happens. And if something else happens, fantastic.
I think that's fair. I think that's smart. I think this is the first time for a long time that we've had a minority of women left in the game versus men.
Well, they did mention at some point, the guys mentioned this episode, oh, we don't want the girls to get majority. And I was like, oh, here we go. Now we're talking about Girls Alliance. Here we go.
Single time. I swear to God, it never ceases to fail me. Because how often has there been a all-female alliance going to the end? I think twice in 40 seasons.
Yeah, pretty much.
It happened in Micronesia, and it happened in One World.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I've seen a couple of times by fluke where, like, the entire final 3 is women without it necessarily meaning to be that way, like Marquesas. but like
Yeah, but that wasn't even a girls' alliance.
it wasn't planned. Like, right.
But no, it's like 3 guys can go to the end. And it's just 3 guys because everyone's on equal footing. But women can't vote together without it being like, oh God, it's a girls' alliance, and that can't be a thing. I don't know. I'm just annoyed by that. Anyway, I think we went way longer than we intended to. Someone has to work tomorrow because his job makes him work 17,000 hours in one day.
Not accurate.
Excited for this next episode, but I'm also terrified for this next episode because the last of the Mohicans that I have to even root for, I think from her edit, there's no chance she's going to win. Denise is the last of my original picks going into this game that I wanted to see win. And there's obviously a chance for Edge of Extinction for either Sophie, Kim, or Natalie to come back. And I wouldn't even be upset for like a Parvati or a Yule return. But even still, I'm just like, I just want Denise to go to the end, just so she can say, I played twice, I did not go home twice, suck it.
I would be super grateful. I don't see where she wins unless she goes on an immunity run, and maybe she could. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to throw out anything like that in the universe because every time I cheer for somebody, they go home. And next week we're losing 2 people because it's a double episode. So
I've just jinxed Denise. I'm so sad.
So we'll see. Survivor has done weird things to us before, and perhaps we'll find something weird next time.
Well, Ryan, as always, thank you so much for joining me to dissect the craziness that is the show we watch.
Of course, thank you for having me, as always, as I try to wear this buff in as many different styles as possible.
What I love is I think you've worn the buff like in 8 styles tonight that I didn't even know existed. So you're just
I have a buff beret going on right now. I really like
buff beret, so to speak.
Buff beret.
A buff beret.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. As always, we always appreciate you guys checking us out. Even though not many of you do, if you have any comments or concerns or questions, please put them down below, and we will actually address them. It does happen. We promise.
Promise, yes. Thank you guys so much. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Good night or goodbye. When you're watching this. Good afternoon. Good morning. Shalom.